Hi everybody, how you doing? How you been? How are things? This is Shane and Diana again. This is Coffee Time number 10. Now with more hashtags. Diana, what do we got to talk about this week?
Alrighty, well, we're going to follow our normal protocol. We're going to talk about last week, and then we're answering a question, and then we're going to get to next week, which actually is this week.
We're a day late, guys. Yeah, sorry about that.
But anyway, I think, it's just the way it is. So, all right, let's get started, though. Last week, we had wanted to make a lot of pottery pieces last week.
We made some nice pottery pieces.
We did. We did not make many pieces last week, but we'll get to all the reasons why. We did make 25 items, so I've added to our bar. However, our bar hasn't made it all the way across.
That's okay, though.
It's okay. That's right. And I'm learning that it's okay. So, but of those 25 items that were made last week, we've set some of them out here. So what were some of the things you made last week?
Okay, so we'll get to the gnome class in a minute, but last week I told you guys about a bowl that I was working on that I had started. Well, it is completely finished now and ready to go in for the bisque fire. And
yes, you had that under plastic.
Right, this is under plastic last week, but this week it's ready to come out. And I think this is going to be a spectacular bowl. This has not been fired or anything yet. This is still
how shiny that
raw
is.
Clay, but it's been burnished on the outside and carved on the inside. And I may not put any glaze on this at all. I don't know. And if I do, I may just glaze on the inside just a little bit just to show off that texture. But this is by far my favorite thing that I made last week. And it is ready to go in for bisque fire. Right now, it could go in. Our next load won't be a bisque load, though, so it won't go in quite yet. And I also made another one of my bowls. I'm starting to love this form a lot.
I like that.
I was actually considering turning this into a giant coffee mug, and that might come up later on. But
that would have been cool.
It would have been cool. But I kind of am starting to like these high-sided forms a little bit.
I like the little shape. It kind of comes out.
Yeah, I like the form. And of course, also made the gnome during the gnome class. And we'll talk about that in a moment. And as far as making stuff last week,
we did something together.
We did do a collaborative effort.
Yes, we made this crab cup together.
Right, and this is not, of course, finished. This is going to be one of the first things that we are going to actually glaze with underglaze, and it's going to look like a painting when it's all done. We're actually going to paint underglaze on it.
Yeah, we're going to cover it first in a white underglaze, so that we can then use the blues and the greens as if they were watercolors.
Right. So it's going to look something like a watercolor painting when it's done. And right now it's just kind of this, flat brown color. But when it's all finished, the cup itself is going to be that buff speckled color, and the crab
kind of sandy.
Right. Look like sand, and the crab itself will really pop with color. So I'll put this back down here.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff that we made this week. But we also had some things come out of the kiln. We'll get to those in a second. Diana, what did you make?
Sure. Well, I threw on the wheel, and I threw these. These are the chamber sticks that a couple of weeks ago I was saying I wanted to make. Well, I did finally get to those, and I'm super happy with them. So it's a double-walled vessel that's just very short. But back in the old days, people would put their candle in, and this would be used to hold it as they would leave their living area and go to their chambers to go to bed. And so that's how it got the name chamber stick. I do need to make a trip down to Jackson's and get the little hurricane globe that goes on the clear glass. But
I wonder if we can get Carolyn to make some of those.
Oh, that would be really nice. Really cool. That would be. I hadn't even thought of that. I bet you she could. But as soon as I made this, the very first thing that popped in my head was my Uncle Bobby. Because all I could think was, oh my gosh, my Uncle Bobby would just love this.
So I can't wait to see that all glazed up and ready to go. What else did you make?
The other thing I had, Christina contacted me this week about needing a sponge holder for her camper, and she wanted one that could hold a very thick, her sponge is like an inch thick, but also to hold the little bottle brushes
Oh,
and
right,
things.
cleaning utensils.
She's trying to get things condensed for their time that they're in the camper. So this was my first rendition of this. This week I'm going to try to tweak it a little bit. My thought was right now the sponge is going to be sitting down here where the water could potentially be. It shouldn't though, because I've got the little spout here, and actually even in here there's an opening here so the water can't build up in here.
Next version might have like ridges or something.
Like right here and right here, just a little bit, so that the sponge would not be sitting anywhere so that air could pass under it.
It still might not. If the sponge sits even with the edge,
oh, that's true.
It still might be fine. So, what else did you? That's awesome.
Well, that was it.
Okay. Well,
other than the crab cup that I did with you.
I think we need to talk about the gnomes.
And the gnomes, yes, because we had a gnome class. And
the gnome class was so much fun.
It was such a fun class. And the people, it was so great to see all their gnomes. And I know you're going to put the images of the gnomes up in a little bit, but
everybody works so hard to make their gnomes all as individual as they can.
Yes. And these were mine. This was my big guy. Big guy. And then here's my little guy, and I have to say my little guy had everybody, well, not everybody, but I don't know, maybe it was me making fun of him more than anybody else, but he has got one big...
He's got a big old nose.
Schnauzer.
Big nose.
Is that the word?
Schnoz.
Snosh.
Big nose.
Big nose.
So everybody made their own gnomes, and this is the guy that I made. This is my guy, and any resemblance that you might see between this and anybody else you might know is completely coincidental. When he's finished, I put a little hole in his hat. He's going to have an arrow going through his hat, and if you can picture it like that, it's going to look pretty good when it's all.
And I thought that was kind of funny because we weren't together at all. He was on one side of the studio and I'm on the other. He's got an arrow going through his hat. My gnome is holding a heart.
Cupid missed. So anyway, that's what we did with the gnome class.
Yes, that was fun.
And let us know in the comments if you like the looks of these gnomes and you want us to put up an instructional video for how to make them. Super easy, super simple. Anybody could follow along, and you could make them out of regular clay, air hardening clay, even the Fimo stuff, polymer clay. Any of that stuff, you could make this. Let us know if you're interested, and maybe we'll put up an instructional video for that.
That would be kind of fun.
That would be great. And as far as we had some things come out of the kiln last week, some things that have been glazed.
Oh, that was
and we do have some favorites.
We do have some favorites. And we have the favorites in front of us right now.
Right, a couple of favorites in front of us. So I really like this vase. Now, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again, the difference between a vase and a vase is where you put the decimal point when you're pricing it. So right now, this is a vase. And I love it because of how Diana glazed it. Now, I made this on the wheel, and Diana applied the glaze, and I really love the stripes. I love what's going on with the speckled clay, letting the spots show through the glaze by using the Celadon. And I just love it. This is one of my favorite pieces.
I have a wash on that too.
And it's got this is the iron oxide?
No, it's manganese.
Manganese.
So I have two different glazes and a manganese wash in that. I love the shape of your vase so much, and as soon as I saw it, I could see those stripes on it, and I just went with it.
Well, it looks really, really good. I love it.
Yeah.
So what was your single favorite thing to come out?
Okay. Well, there were so many, and I got excited over so many things.
It's tough to restrain ourselves.
When all is said and done, I have to say my very favorite thing that came out kind of made me speechless last week. I was mid-sentence, and you pulled this thing out, and I was like, oh! So, but this is the one-word cup that I made for 2024, so that I'm trying to find balance in my life this year. Which is kind of funny because I am an October baby and I am a Libra, and the symbol for Libras is the scale balance, and here I am trying to find balance. So it's just kind of ironic, but this mug really speaks to me, and after last week, it speaks to me even more.
Last week was a rough week, guys.
It really was. So this was my favorite from last week, and I do think it's beautiful. I have a second rendition of this one that's going into the glaze load this week. That one has the more squared handle, because you know how I like to just hold my line like this. And with this one, this one's not quite got the handle for me, but I do love it.
It's tough to find that perfect cup. Now, the cup I'm using is not new from this week.
Yeah.
I like it because it's got the kind of handle Diana was just talking about.
Yeah.
But this is from a couple weeks ago, but I love it.
Yes. So
and then we had something we loved kind of together about the same amount.
Oh yeah, I almost forgot.
Yeah,
how could I forget?
I was afraid you might almost forget that. So I wanted to make sure I said something. This is our lunch plate.
I was looking to see what was next.
This is our lunch plate, and we're going to be making a bunch of these. It's a really great size for a sandwich and a cup of or bowl of soup or something like maybe a cappuccino or a bowl of chicken noodle soup or whatever. But we have several of these forms, and these are one of the plates that people will be able to make in one of our upcoming plate classes if they want to. But kind of as transitioning into what we're thinking about next week, I need to make some bowls that will go well with this plate. And of course, my first instinct is to throw it on the wheel, but I'm not sure that a wheel-thrown bowl will give me the kind of the aesthetic that I'm looking for with this. So we'll probably do a hand-built bowl with straight sides coming straight up. That kind of is very similar to what we would do for a cup. It'll just be maybe a little lower and maybe a little wider, and then without a handle, probably.
Sort of like the bowl, the ramekin bowls.
Right, similar to the ramekin. Right. Yep. Okay. So this, Diana and I both really loved how this turned out, and we have two of them right now that are identical. We made a set, and that's how we're going to make them with the bowls too. They'll be a set. It'll be a bowl and a plate. And then that will be a nice set. So that's kind of our favorite thing that we liked together that came out of the kiln. And that is leading us into what we plan on doing this coming week. So what do you have planned?
What do I have planned for this coming week? Well, I'm going to be making bacon cookers and casseroles and muffin pans. So lots of baking
tools,
things.
Right?
Yes. So lots of baking type things.
Except the bacon cooker will be for the microwave, right?
Yes, that's true. Although it could go in the oven, but I don't think you would want it in the oven.
I can't imagine it being
think that would be
too great in the oven, but it would work.
But that's just sort of my thing. And then you have some ideas too for things that you're making this coming week.
Right. So I mentioned already the bowl that's going to go with this plate. I want to make, in addition to more plates, we're going to do some more cups as well. What else did I say I was going to make? I don't remember.
Oh, the mug.
Oh, right. So we have the crab here, and you probably can't see it. I'm sure you can't see it. Maybe we'll get another picture of it. I've got a bolo tie that has a cicada on it, and I did look this up, and you can pronounce it either cicada or cicada. Both are correct, sort of like tomato or tomato, but different. We're going to be making some mugs with cicadas on them because this summer is supposed to be a super duper loud summer for cicadas because there are a couple of the periodic broods that are hatching out at the same time, and that's apparently the first time it's happened in a couple hundred years, and it won't happen again for another couple hundred years. But it's supposed to be, and we're here for it, right?
It's going to be loud.
It's supposed to be a pretty loud summer. We're going to call it the screaming. But we're going to be making some mugs with cicada patterns on them, in addition to the crabs, of course. And then we're going to be adding on things like some regional things like Chinky ponies, maybe lighthouse mug, maybe even a mosquito mug. I think that would be
I think the mosquito, yes, very appropriate.
Yep. So those are things that we're working on this week as far as making stuff.
Yes. Well, and before we go on with more of the things that we're making this week, we had a question on our Instagram from a gentleman who goes by Speech.
Yep, the Instagram username Speech.
Okay, and he said,
"Hi, Speech.
Why do you fire so hot?" And he said, "I only go to 1800 degrees Fahrenheit." So I thought that was a good question.
That's a good question. So the temperature that you fire pottery depends completely on the material that you're using. Speech is probably using earthenware that fires at a much lower temperature than the stoneware that we typically use. Most of our work is done at cone 6, and we would call that a mid-fire range, because the cone scale goes up to, if as far as our kiln goes up to about 10 as far as what we can fire, which is way, way hotter. Now understand that our pottery fires at cone 6, and that's approximately 2232 degrees Fahrenheit. So it is a little hotter than the 1800 degrees that Speech was talking about. But we don't normally talk about how we fire our pottery in terms of temperature. We usually use the word cone, and cone combines the idea of thermal energy, temperature, along with the idea of time, how much time there is for that thermal energy to do its job. So a cone, like what we're talking about, what we normally fire here, is the one we use is cone 6. And
we do that because that's what our clay requires.
Yes, our clay and our glaze both require that. Now, when I did the raku fired pottery a couple weeks ago, that did fire at about 1800 degrees. And that's a different kind of clay, it's a different kind of glaze, and it's a different kind of process. So this fires at a much lower temperature, and the raku firing that we do doesn't produce pottery that we would consider food safe. I'm not going to serve soup in this bowl because it's probably not fully vitrified, and I honestly have no idea what the minerals and elements inside this glaze would do if they reacted to food. This is completely and purely decorative. On the other hand, when we fire something at cone 6, this is food safe and it is functional. If I wanted to use this vase as a gravy bowl, I could.
Right.
Not that I would, but I could.
A lot of the earthenware clays are food safe and used with food, but it's because they do vitrify
at lower
temperatures. So you really do have to go by what your clay is. And I know like terracotta and things like that are as well, you know, there with the earthenware.
And we may eventually, expand our repertoire of clay work, and we may work with low fire stuff. We certainly will when we start raku firing, and we may even work with higher firing clays as well. We may get into some of the really technical cone 10 kind of work. There's a lot of stuff out there. It is a universe to work with.
Yeah, you can spend a lifetime and not do it all.
Right, and the difference between a low fire and high fire is kind of like the difference between watercolor and oil paint. There are different things you can do with them, different glazes, different applications, and there's way more to learn than time to learn it. But I don't know if this answers your question or not, Speech, but since most of what we do is cone 6, that's just generally what we work at. Okay, but thanks for that question, Instagram user Speech.
Yes, and please keep those questions coming, guys, because it gives us a chance to talk about what we love to do and some of the things that people might be wondering. So that brings us to another thing to talk about, because one of the reasons that I'm focused so much on the balance this week was the fact that last week was so unbalanced. You know, we had 2 classes back to back, but
the classes were great.
Wonderful.
Fantastic.
We couldn't ask for better classes. But we did them back to back after having made that trip to Pennsylvania. We were 8 hours on the road on Thursday, and then I was another 2 hours on the road on Friday with Christopher, and then that night had a class, and then the next day had a class, and then we worked in the studio until 8 that night. So that, guys, is why yesterday we did not have
the day off.
Time because we just kind of crashed. That was it.
It was quite the workout for a couple of days, and even the drive, which we normally enjoy so much, to Norristown, Pennsylvania, the ceramic shop.
Hard drive.
It was foggy and rainy the whole way. Traffic was insane, and it wasn't the relaxing adventure that it sometimes has been. They through no fault of them, didn't have exactly the clays that we were hoping they had, and it was a rather stressful experience.
Yes. The best thing about the whole day was coming on the way home. Christopher, our son, had gone with us, and on the way home we stopped to Cracker Barrel and had dinner.
Right.
It was really, that part was very nice. It was nice to just sit and relax for a little bit because everything else had been so stressful that day. But I am looking forward to this week, and one of the things we brought back from
this was a success.
Shop.
So we bought this book at the ceramic shop, and I am really loving some of the really creative pottery stuff that's in here. And we're going to be using this book to kind of guide some of the things that we're going to be doing here in the studio. We've always been doing, the great kind of artistic-looking, cool-looking, functional stuff. But we're going to be adding a little bit more whimsy to the walkie pots. So we're going to be doing some more artistic and, although still functional, just some funky shapes and some different ways of doing things. And we're going to be learning about this with our son.
Yes.
So our son Christopher is going to be picking this up with us,
yes.
and we're turning it into an art unit for him.
So we're spending a little bit of time each evening as a family, learning, from the book and training him, our new intern.
Yes, Christopher is now interning here at Walkie Pots. We've taught him several things like reclaiming clay and basic procedures for drying pottery, and we're going to be glazing this afternoon with him here in the studio, and he's going to be learning all about that stuff.
Right.
Carolyn has already started doing that as well. So she's been in the studio helping us glaze, and in fact, she was in here helping to make. No, not helping to make. She made her own.
Yeah, she's made
crab mugs.
Did she make 4 of them?
I believe she made 4. Yes,
I think
four,
so.
Four
yeah, she made 4 of them. So hey, we might have only made 25 things, but she managed to make 4, and she's just started.
Yep.
But then again, she's pretty awesome.
She is pretty awesome. Yep.
Our kids are awesome.
Yep.
In fact, we're very proud of her. She's back to college right now.
Today's her first day back for the semester.
First day back for the semester.
Now, what year is this for her?
She is a junior.
So she's a junior now. And she's made Dean's List last semester. You can see the certificate up over my shoulder. Above that is a couple of the glass things that she made. She does, if you don't know this already, does glass blowing at the college.
Yeah. And this semester she's taken on an additional class. So, it's going to be a lot of work. Heavy workload, but she'll do it.
Okay, so what else?
Alrighty, so we've talked about Christopher coming out here and working. Oh, the other thing that we have that we're doing, we have to start getting our curriculum written for our next round of student art classes.
Right, so we do kids art classes, and the next round will be starting up in March. So we're going to be putting together the curriculum for that. And I know up until this point, you've probably seen mostly, almost only pottery here during our coffee time videos. But we're going to be doing some additional things as well. In our youth art classes, we talk about the principles and elements of art, and we make lots of cool projects, not just clay and ceramics. In fact, almost no clay and ceramics with those general art classes, but lots of painting and lots of learning about different artists and different art movements, different themes and different aspects of fine arts. And it's a great class. And we've got, how many groups? 3 different groups?
No, it's 2. We have 2 groups currently booked. We have several groups coming through for field trips and things.
Right, we've got.
But for our actual, we have 12 students in one class and 11 in the other. So it's really enough that it could have been 3.
Could have been 3, but and you probably don't know how large our studio is, but it's not big. So 12 students in here will be fun, not impossible, not unmanageable in any way. And with the temperature warming up, the 6-week course will happen on several days where we'll be able to open the door behind us and actually do some of the classes partly outside. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, but you may end up seeing, a poster with principles of art on it, or some of the student work or stuff sitting, or our work up in the background instead.
And we'll definitely keep you up to date on what's going on.
But we might be retired teachers, but we still get to teach. We get to teach with our pottery classes, and we get to teach with the art classes, and so it gives us an opportunity to do what we love to do and share our love of art, whether it's pottery or painting.
And last week's
with others.
Classes were sculptural things with the gnomes. And we also had a group of folks come in and take a wheel throwing class.
Oh,
and
yes.
it was so much fun.
It really was.
We had a great time with that.
That was a really good class, and I helped out with it. You know, not that I could offer a whole lot, although I did give a few hints
we got
a couple of people.
Do what we can do, right?
You know, so, but, you know, because I am predominantly a hand builder, but every once in a while I throw in the wheel. Yeah,
we're like Donnie and Marie, right? You're a little bit country and I'm a little bit rock and roll, kind of thing. Right?
That's us. So, oh my
God, if you know who Donnie and Marie are, put it in the comments, because like nobody's going to get that reference, Donnie and Marie.
No, maybe they'll Google it.
Yeah, maybe. You'll never get that reference.
Maybe they will. Friday night, we've got Build Your Own Dinner Plate class. That's going to be a cool one.
And several different kinds of dinner plates. So we mentioned the sandwich plate, but also larger round dinner plates. Right. And maybe some smaller saucer kind of plates as well. And
I'm going to show them how they can make their own texture and things just with even found objects. And like one of the ideas I had was taking a piece of string and wrapping it around a
dowel rod.
Thank you. Right. A dowel rod. And then rolling that in the clay. And that'll give a really interesting pattern, a little design on their thing. So, I mean, you can carve, of course, but you can use lots of things, you know, even fabric that has a cool texture to it.
Burlap or something.
Yeah. So lots of interesting things that we can do with that. So I think, let me look. I'm looking. I think we have covered.
That's probably just about it, guys. So we are going to try to add in some hashtags in our descriptions on the YouTube videos. And I promise, sometime in the next millennium, I'm going to be updating our webpage. But for now,
not enough hours in the day.
Not enough hours in the day. You can keep up to date with what's going on with us on our Facebook page and Instagram. And
we try to respond as quickly as we can when you leave your comments. So we keep going through the YouTube.
And sometimes the responses will come from Diana's account when she responds specifically. Yeah. Sometimes they'll come from my account if I respond, so Shane or Diana. Right. And then if you get a response that says from Walkie Pots, and who knows, one of us is responding. It's either Diana or I, because we share the Walkie Pots account name. Anything else going on?
No, we've got lots of things to glaze. And lots of things to get started making today, because at 5 o'clock tonight, I'm going to be sitting at my cousin's house. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Karen. Because we're doing our fiber friends, and of course, Kim will be there. Right. And I'm going to be sitting there with my knitting. And I know this is not a knitting class, but he is going to put a picture of what I'm currently knitting.
She loves going to her Super Fiber Friends Club. She loves it.
He's going to show you the sweater that I'm currently working on, because I do know that some of you who are following us are also fellow knitters, and I just thought you might like to see what I was doing. I know I would love to see what you're doing too.
And I juggle flaming torches, but I'm not going to show you that right now.
He honestly does. We can talk about that.
We'll talk about that a different time. I think it's all of the time we have right now anyway. So for now, toodaloo, TTFN, ta-ta for now. Take care. See you later. Have a fantastic day no matter where you're at. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.